tell you what, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Tell You What, the podcast. We talk with musicians about songwriting and the creative process. My name is Mike, and this is episode number 67 of this podcast, if you can believe it. Seems like a lot of episodes. There's a lot of good ones out there, so if you're new to us, go check some of them out. Our guest today is Soren Staff, who is the principal songwriter for the Wisconsin-based band Them Coulee Boys. Soren co-founded the band in 2011 with his pal Bo Janke on banjo and Soren's brother Jens on mandolin. Over the years, they added Neil Krause on bass and Stash Habel on drums. The band released their fifth full-length album last year. It's called No Fun in the Chrysalis, and I've really enjoyed this record. Be sure to check it out. Them Coulee Boys are known for their engaging, fun, and emotionally charged live performances. I had the chance to see them for the first time this past summer. It was great to watch them completely win over a room full of folks, most of whom were not previously familiar with the band. By the end of the night, we were all on our feet, singing and clapping along and having a grand time. I had a great chat with Soren. He's a very talented songwriter. He has a deft touch as a lyricist, implementing tricky rhyme schemes. Soren talks with me about how he really works at his craft, getting just the right pieces of the lyrical puzzle to come together. And as you can hear on the new record, the band really brings these songs to life. So do keep an eye out for Them Coulee Boys on the road. You'll be happy you did. And check out No Fun in the Chrysalis, their new record. And for now, enjoy this Tell You What conversation with Them Coulee Boys, Soren Staff. Start. You're good?
Yep.
All right. Soren Staff, welcome to Tell You What, the podcast. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. I am recording from the Tell You What Epiplex here in Evanston, Illinois. Where are you coming to us from?
I'm coming from beautiful Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I'm here actually at my side gig, Ambient Inks. It's a merch company. Little plug on the side there too.
Yeah, feel free to plug away. You guys do merch for bands and things?
Yeah. We're a sustainably conscious merch company. We do printing for bands. We do web store management. We do tour management for bands. Some of our bands that you'd recognize, Bon Iver, where we got started. But
yeah, heard of them.
Yeah, but like Shaky Graves, Camp, Them Coulee Boys.
I've heard of them too.
We're also a client, so. But yeah, no, it's.
Tell me the name of the company again.
It's called Ambient Inks. Of course, they'll love the shout out. For the longest time, I substitute taught as my side gig. I had a bunch of friends who worked at this company, and having been in the music business for over a decade now, I definitely felt like I had some kind of understanding of what this would look like, and it rings true. I mean, it's when it comes down to it, musicians need a little help with getting all the other stuff together besides making songs. So that's kind of what I do.
Great. So let's go back in time a bit. You grew up in Taylor, Wisconsin. Do I have that correct? Not far from Eau Claire?
Yeah. So I went to school in Blair. Taylor was the name of the school district. Hickston, Wisconsin was on the address, but really middle of nowhere. Very, very small, 400 to 500 person towns.
Oh, wow.
In west central Wisconsin. And I grew up in the country outside of there. Yeah.
So what do you recall from your early years musically? Anything that stuck with you, maybe that shows up in your music today?
I was always singing. I'm a loudmouth. I like to talk, but I feel like I was always liking to sing. Always had the solos, at the school concerts. But it's also just like, I think a part of what my family does. My grandfather sang in the church choir. My mom and dad met at a choir thing when they were in high school. And it kind of just like soaked in. My brother is also in the band with me, and we were always in like men's groups and choirs together growing up. I have memories of, driving in. We had a 20-minute drive into school. So sometimes we'd just be like singing together. The radio would be on and sing along, or the radio would be off and we'd be harmonizing and stuff. When there was idle time, I felt like I was trying to fill it with that kind of noise, be it by myself or with my brother or my friends. I think that started very early, and as I got older, I realized that this is kind of what I want to do. I want to sing, I want to make music.
So at some point you picked up the guitar, though?
My grandma got me in piano lessons really young, and my biggest regret in life is not trying as hard as I should have in that space. Like I now, having gone on to be a musician, would love to be able to shred piano. I can passably play piano, but I would love to have actually applied myself for 15 years. But in general, like I had played piano since like maybe 3rd, 4th grade, and then my cousin borrowed me his acoustic guitar when I was like 16. Okay. And that kind of unlocked something in me. I remember like hearing songs on the radio and just running home, and I'd go to the piano first where I would like figure out the riff on the piano and then translate it to the guitar. And I taught myself that way. And as a result, like my guitar skills are so, I tried to teach guitar lessons for a while and it just didn't work because I learned everything on my own and I learned it the wrong way. So it's one of those things that I've had to unlearn things as I go there, but also
so you should teach like guitar lessons for half-baked piano students or something.
Yeah. If you want to learn how to do it the wrong way, come to me.
You said that you're always singing, and at some point you decided maybe I could do this as my vocation. How old do you think you were when those thoughts started entering your head? People do this for a living.
Right, yeah. I mean, vocation-wise, I think it entered a lot later than like, damn, I really want to write songs, And I was in a band in high school that we were learning covers and stuff. A lot of like Green Day, Fall Out Boy was huge back then, and we just wanted to do pop punk stuff. But then I wrote a couple songs on my own, and I liked the feeling of like that puzzle that I had to put together. It just was something that spoke to me, and I like did a lot of that in high school, but it was never something that felt like, oh yeah, this could be a job. Yeah. I went to school for engineering. I have a biomedical engineering degree, and just worked so hard and hated myself while I was doing that. And the escape was always writing songs.
So were you writing songs in high school and your band was performing them?
Yeah. We played 4 or 5 gigs kind of thing. We were called The Vindicated Truth. I actually did another podcast called My First Band where I go in depth on that band. Writing was the escape. It was like I had all this work to do with my degree, and writing was the escape. And then as far as when it entered, like, hey, this could be a job, I met Bo, our banjo player, best bud, and then like we started playing together and I started writing songs for us. And when people started reacting to it in ways that I was like unfamiliar with, it was like, hey, this might be something. It was
when you started connecting with people through your songs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I was driven into songwriting from a space of like being really moved by other songs and said, I want to do something like that. And then when it felt like that reaction was being applied to what I was making, it was like, hey, this might be more than just something to do in my room. Like this might be something that I could do for people.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned your buddy Bo. You two started playing together. And that formed the nucleus, if you will, of the band as it exists now, right?
Yep. We met working at a summer camp in northern Wisconsin, and I remember the first moment, like we were at a campfire, and they're like, "Hey, would you mind just playing some background music?" And I kind of just like looked and was like, "Want to do something in G?" And like we had never really played together, and then it was very apparent very early that there was chemistry there, and just I didn't have to talk to him about it. And it just felt cool. I just never felt that before.
Yeah.
And it's never gone away. We've been playing like that since summer of 2011. The band came later, but as far as playing with each other, like it's been almost 15 years now, and like it always feels like, oh, this guy knows what I want to do, and I know what he wants to do, and I think that goes a long way when you're trying to write music.
Yep. You were writing songs all along this path with Bo from the beginning?
In college, I kind of put aside some of the songwriting stuff as I had to focus on other things. But honestly, the nexus for like where a lot of the first stuff for the band came from, I went through this big breakup, classic college sweethearts kind of thing that just was not going to work out. And I poured all my energy into trying to process that through song, and it just happened to be so around the time when I was playing a lot with Bo, and my brother was also there, and he wanted to play and sing too, and it was like, well, I got these songs now. Do you guys want to play these ones instead of these cover ones? And they were just game. Unfortunately, like the nexus of the project definitely was like a not fun moment, but like
right.
I think finding some community and finding some acceptance, and just like, okay, I have these songs, I'm a little anxious to show them to you guys, and then for them, two guys that like my brother and my best friend to be like, yeah, these are awesome, was like very affirming and just made me want to do more.
That's great. Eventually, we're going to skip ahead a lot here. The band is now a 5-piece. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All of you live in Eau Claire. You all found your way there, right? And that's
Yes.
been home base for a while. Kind of an artsy area, would you say? It is conducive to creative people?
Yeah, and as you said, we found our way there. You can't have an interview as a songwriter from Eau Claire without Bon Iver coming up.
Right.
But he's based here in Eau Claire, and around that time was when he was really on top of the world, kind of thing. Working with Kanye and playing Coachella and all this stuff. And I think there was definitely a sense in that moment in time where it's like, this is where stuff is happening.
It's pretty exciting.
Right. I mean, especially for like Eau Claire's like a town of 70,000 people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up outside of a town of like 400 to 500 people. Bo grew up in a town of 1,100 people. Like, we're small town Wisconsin boys. Like, Eau Claire was the big city.
Right.
So when we got here, there's like, yes, this is the space. And now that we've been here for, over a decade, while the shine of like, oh, anything can happen here, maybe a little less bright, I think there's a greater understanding of like why that was able to happen in the first place, and is that Eau Claire like is a town that supports the arts, like top to bottom. Like, they have great music programs in their schools, elementary through high school. The community has spaces to play. Like our DIY scene in Eau Claire is incredible. Like, if someone ever invites you to a house show in Eau Claire, like, it's probably going to be great.
Yeah.
But then, like, you got venues where 15 people can be there and it feel great. And then we have a performing arts center that's like 1,200, and then they just got this big event space that's 5,000, and it's like there's machinery there to kind of like nurture musicians and bands like from their infancy. Yeah, I think it's a community that like sees what's possible because of what happened with Justin Vernon. I think because they saw that that's something that can happen, they want to support these kind of things and make it happen again.
Makes sense. So in addition to being a place that is conducive creatively, it's a beautiful and unique part of the country as well, the natural landscape. Talk about maybe sense of place in your writing and your music. Do you think there's a way that this geography and where you live makes it into the music you create?
I've actually lamented this in the past that like, especially in like the Americana folky bluegrass thing, the nature metaphor is an easy one.
Yep.
It's one that I think is a little overused, and I've kind of lamented in my inability to tap into that. I think for me, like growing up in the country like I did and like living in it, I always wanted to be where everything else was. The romanticism of, being out in the country was not something that appealed to me. Now that I have lived in the city for a decade, I 100% get it.
Yeah.
But I think as far as like lyrically, I don't know if the imagery or the metaphor seeped its way in, but I think what did make its way into my writing is, I would say, like the authenticity, the genuineness. Like nature is kind of like it's this one thing, and it's been this thing for millions of years, and like the resoluteness of that, or like the dependability of that. Like I really think with my writing, I want to tap into, that reliableness, that like steadfastness, sincerity, like really resonates with me. And I think maybe that's where it's come in. That might be just bullshit. I'm trying to think here, but
I'll accept it. Well, let me just say this. I have in my notes when I was listening to your music and digging in that you guys are not a bluegrass band, but you live in kind of that world to a certain degree. And I agree with you that the nature themes or tropes, they're in that music a lot and kind of on a surface level. And I think I wrote in my notes that your lyrics move beyond that and don't just rely on those easy metaphors of nature that a lot of bluegrass or bands in your world do. So it's to your credit. And I get where you're coming from and all that.
Whenever someone asks like about that kind of, space in writing, I think the song that I point to of ours or mine that like is the most like nature metaphor rich is a song called Canyon. The line is like, I am a canyon, you are a creek, you wound to the bottom of me, kind of thing. And it's like, yes, you're playing with like the imagery there, but like you said, it's there's another level to it. Anybody can say that the river's beautiful.
But let's not forget that you named yourselves after a natural phenomenon.
I know.
There's that.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, did we name ourselves? My buddy.
I wasn't going to get into where did your band name come from. We were going to leave that for other interviews, so we can move on. But I want to talk about your creative process if we can.
Totally.
Let's try and approach it this way. You've been at this for a long time. Maybe talk about how your process has changed or shifted over all the time you've been writing songs. Kind of in two parts. Later, I think secondarily, we can talk about writing for the band and how that is something.
Yeah.
But I want to talk more, maybe if you can, about how your process has changed, maybe in the way the songs are coming to you, the themes, the structures, things like that.
Yeah, honestly, when you first asked that question, my first thought was just, as far as process goes, like the amount of first thought, best thought that comes into it. When I first was writing, I think I was just so excited to be doing this, so excited to be writing songs, and so excited that people cared, that like once I had a verse, I had a verse, and if I needed another one, I'd write another one. And then I think the further I got into it and the more I kind of got obsessed with craft and like, how could I make this better? Like I, focus more on like, okay, I have this, how can this be better? How can I match these words more beautifully, or how phonetically can this flow? There was just more thought that went into it. Then there was a period of like, you just bogged down in that. I think now I'm circling back to this space of like, this is making me excited. This is making me want to write more. So even if it doesn't feel like the most beautiful way to put something. I think I'm back at that place now where it's like, I'm excited about this, so I just should think about it a lot less.
So you're saying you're going back to first principles, kind of?
I think so. I mean, or maybe going back there with a little more experience. I think I've written, hundreds of songs at this point, and I think there's this mentality of like, once I've done it one way, I don't really want to do it that way again. But I think also you should write about what you're excited about. I got away from what was the burning in my gut and was focusing more on like, how can this be the best it can be? And I think now coming back to like, I'm excited about this. Let's follow this thread. I can always come back and do the editing later. I can always come back and tighten up the screws, but like not getting in the way of just like creative impulse. I think that's been where I've like grown recently.
Yeah. Getting back maybe to the sincerity thing you were talking about earlier too, right?
Right. Yeah. It's like, this is what I want to talk about. So don't dress it in a way that doesn't make sense. I think I had to have that period where I was really obsessive about, how does the meter fit here? How does this vowel sound match with this vowel sound at this part of the line? I think I had to like get into the nuts and bolts. I had to like really solve those puzzles a bunch of times. So now like that's just a skill.
Yes.
That's like there instead of like having to go there. It's like those are coming more in that initial phase of just feeling creative.
Right. Right.
So yeah, like hard won experience, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to get into some of those nuts and bolts when we talk about some of these songs. I have some nerdy questions for you later.
Totally.
Let's go to the second half of this question. And that is how the writing and the song creation has changed as the band has evolved over time. Maybe in terms of what you're bringing to the band or how you work together as a group as the band has both grown in number, but also, I'm sure, evolved as a creative unit, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, to go from a 3-piece to a 4-piece and then a 5-piece, and then also incorporate different aspects of that. My brother plays mandolin, and he started having an electric mandolin. Bo plays banjo, and he brings in an electric banjo. And
I heard that electric banjo when I saw you guys play. That thing's insane, by the way.
There's no way you can't hear it. Banjos are already loud enough, and then you throw it through an amp. It's crazy. But getting back to how it is evolved for writing for the band, like there is a part of me that says, hey, this is going to exist in this whole other space when I'm done with it. All of these start with me in my room, sitting with an acoustic guitar, maybe piano, bare bones.
Yeah.
But I think part of that process has to be like, okay, this is eventually going to be this whole other thing with all these other. So you got to leave space for those things. I think if I had my way, it would be the stripped down thing. It would be the bare bones thing. But I've learned that me pulling back on the way these guys push is where the sweet spot is found. Bo has always been the big push factor. And I think that battle between his outwardness and his like off the wall wild stuff with my like wanting to have it be focused thing is put us in this spot where like those things have come to a balance. When it comes down to it, plenty of people have sat with one guitar and a mic and done it. And it's nice to have something to push you in a different direction. But also like the fact that the songs can live in just that guitar and vocal space, that for me is the like, they have to live that way before they can do this other thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, as far as how it's changed over the years, I think it's just like keeping another eye and knowing that like these are not just going to live this way. I learned that like whatever the songs were going to be, they were going to be better if I plugged into these guys.
Yeah.
having a space for these guys to put their imprint on these songs while also still like them be the songs themselves being able to live on their own. It's a balance for sure.
Yeah. I'm always curious when I talk to songwriters who work with both guitar and piano, if you could talk a little bit about the way you might use one or the other, or sometimes do you switch midstream if you get stuck? Or is there anything you can tell us about both the instruments and their place in your process?
When it's with a guitar, it's more of like putting, certain chords together in rhythm. I think the rhythm aspect of it translates a lot easier for me with the guitar. But melodies wise, I think it's a lot easier for me to just like, hey, I know what key I'm in. I can sit at the piano and it's just much easier for me to visualize in my head. I mean, it's right in front of me, as opposed to, I've never been the best picker guitar wise. Like, I'm able to BS my way around stuff, but like with piano, like having taken lessons and stuff, like it is a lot easier for me to pick out a melody or to build a melody that way.
So you might use a guitar to get the groove down and the progression down, and then for the same song, use the piano to find a melody for that song?
Yeah, and honestly, I think more the piano stuff comes in when I'm stuck. A lot of it for me is just vocally figuring out a melody. But when a vocal melody feels like that might be a pretty well-worn track, like going to the piano and seeing where I could mix it up is definitely like a little trick I use if I want to do something different. It's just the whole thing of like, tuning to a different tuning on your guitar,
right?
Or like putting it playing it with different chord shapes. Like piano's the same way, where it's like, okay, my brain is thinking about this song differently now. This could maybe unlock a melody,
right?
A rhythm or whatever. Yeah.
So I've noticed in a lot of your songs, this really stands out, that you have a lot of these great couplets. The rhymes really hit. Is this where a lot of these songs are starting from, some of these catchy turns of phrase, these rhyming lines? That maybe some of the songs are getting their beginning with just that?
Yeah. I would say like the nexus of a lot of songs is like getting something, like a couplet that's great.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily the guy when I'm trying to find something. I'm not sitting down and playing or whatever. I'm walking around, I'm talking. Like, I think a big part of songwriting for me is like the gathering phase, being open to hearing somebody say something.
Yep.
Or, like just playing with phrases in my head while I'm walking around, or, like there's parts of my job here where I could kind of turn my brain off a little bit and like just let it kind of like play with things. And I spoke earlier about like that burning in my gut, something that I'm excited about and chasing that. That's how 99% of the songs come. It's not a melody. It's not a chord progression. It's most of the time some turn of phrase that I like and something that sounds cool but also means something, like, and then it kind of just circles in my brain. I'm notorious about not writing stuff down, which comes back to bite me in the ass all the time. But I'm also a believer in like, if it's good, it sticks around. So I have not written that verse down, but I know it and it's there, and like I've ruminated on that and it's marinated, and I've just built it slowly.
You're purposely not writing it down?
I think it's subconscious. I think when it comes down to it now, it's like, okay, I have a good first verse and I do want to finish this song at some point. Then I'll sit down. But
then
as
the
far
puzzle
as like,
starts,
Yeah. For me, like I have to like at least get one verse until I like really sit down and want to figure something out.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, if it doesn't stick around in my head, it's not going to stick around for other people either.
I have heard the litany of songwriters on here. Most say if I don't write it down right away, I might lose it. And then there's the other guys who are like, if I don't remember it, it wasn't good enough, and it's this back and forth, right?
100%. And then you go like, shit, that actually was good and I can't find it.
It's like that you wake up from the dream and it's slipping away from you as you're standing there. Well, I wanted to get specific, if we could, from one of your songs. We're talking about these great couplets from the song "I Can't Turn It Off." It's actually a triplet, and I'm gonna read you back your own lyrics if you don't mind.
I'll try not to be embarrassed.
Okay. They say fools rush into commitment to leave the toothbrush in my kitchen. I know that you must have been kidding. Here's where we nerd out. I love this because you have like this double rhyme pattern, right? Each line has rhymes twice with the other two lines. Tricky stuff with some near rhymes that work so well and give the whole thing kind of a relaxed feel, the near rhyming as well. But this is what really strikes me about the way this song is put together, is the way you deliver the lines, the phrasing, the emphasis on like fools rush and toothbrush, along with the way the melody works, really emphasizes the rhymes here.
They say fools rush to commitment to leave that toothbrush in my kitchen. I know that you must have been kidding when you said it's run away yesterday. And I don't know where we'll go or where we'll stop, but I can't turn it off. I can't turn it off. All this love I got, I can't turn it off.
Are you conscious of that when you put the song together to phrase it and deliver it, that gives the best, shines the best light on your rhymes and things? Or is that just like what you talked about before, it's become more of a natural process for you? If you understand the question.
No, I Well, first of all, thank you for pointing that out. That is a favorite triplet on that record for me. I love putting words into songs that feel unfamiliar.
Toothbrush, for example.
Literally, and like I had toothbrush in the kitchen. I think was the first one. Like I said, that's like the puzzle piece. It's like I knew that kitchen was like I could have something rhyme with that pretty easy. But then, like I said, like I think I got obsessed in the last few years of like, okay, yes, I could. What it ends on could rhyme, but like it was more of like the puzzle of like, okay, could I have things rhyme in the middle?
Yep.
Could that is something that just like really burns at me. I want it to like all fit. I mean, but then also like make sense. With that one, for it all to be like, puppy love kind of rushing into shit. I kind of had that sense of like, oh, I did something here. And then when you go to do the vocal take, I don't necessarily think it was, I need to draw attention to this. But I think the mechanics of that line, as far as like vocally, if I'm doing the same thing, I think it can get a little mushy. You draw attention to it in the sense that it's almost like tongue in cheek.
Yep.
That like, hey, I'm tipping my cap here a tiny little bit by like emphasizing the rhyme, but also just the tone of that song, where like the song's called "I Can't Turn It Off," and that whole song is just about having this overflowing of joy and like not feeling in control or whatever. So like I think leaning into that delivery of of those guys in the past, of like kind of poking at it a little bit, was something that definitely came into my head. I don't think that happens until you're in the studio doing it. The mechanics of it were fun to figure out. And then it was like, now that I have this puzzle put together, how can it like live in a way that feels organic and not super on the nose? So yeah, I don't know. Fun to kind of think about that, because
I love it. I loved breaking
that was
this
one I
stuff
really
down.
loved to put together.
Yeah, I did notice. We're going to talk maybe about it again in another song. You seem to like this 3-line rhyme thing also, which is kind of a unique approach.
I love a double verse too. So if you do the 3 line and then the 4th line is something, then you can come back and do another 3, and then the 4th line rhymes with the 8th line rhymes with the 4th one.
Yeah, you do that very well. And when you listen to the song, you don't even know why your brain likes it, because that first rhyme is kind of 3 lines back, but it knows that something good just happened and it's not sure why, right? Well, all right, I'm going to jump right into it here because we're talking about this 3-line thing. In the song Change, Etc., the chorus itself is 3 lines, right? Change is a funny thing. Pain can make you sing. Faith can give you wings. There is no 4th line in the chorus, and my brain kind of wants there to be one. It's kind of like Unresolved, which is a great hook, particularly the way the 3rd line kind of goes up in the melody, and then there's no resolution, kind of. Is that something maybe you thought about there?
That song was such a fun one to write because it kind of came really quickly, I think.
Yeah, I want you to tell the story of how this song came about too, because I read the essay that you wrote about it, and maybe we get a version of that. But maybe address this chorus issue.
Yeah, the chorus thing is, as far as the chorus thing goes, I wrote the 3 verses and I didn't have a chorus.
Okay.
And I know other people have done it, but like someone that I studied a lot was Bruce Springsteen, and like the whole like zoom in, zoom out approach, like have the verses be these details and then, okay, what did this boil down to? And sometimes I can still get mired in the details a little bit, but with this one, it kind of felt like, all right, I'm talking about this kind of thing, I'm talking about this kind of thing, and this kind of thing. So it literally was this like, all right, first verse is about change. Second verse is hardship. And I was like, well, pain, and then the 3rd verse is just, why am I here kind of thing, existential stuff. And I was like, well, I need a word with a lot of juice to it, and faith was there. And like some lines I just agonize over, but those ones came so quick. And you're right in the sense that when I wrote it, I was like, okay, well, now I need a 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
And it first started with like, well, I'll figure it out, especially like with how that like song came together really quick. But it ended up just being like, I think I've said what I need to say here. And with how heavy is not the word for those words, I think it's more of like, the weight that those words have, they have importance to them. Like I thought that they could just live like that. Like I think the things, the themes being brought up didn't necessarily need to all be tied together with a neat bow. And like you said, like melody wise, it does feel like it's leading to something. So for it to lead to something, but then like kind of like not give you an answer, that appealed to me, especially the song itself. It's the first song on the record, and I'm like, this is the question, and the rest of the record is trying to answer it. So it felt right to not answer the question there that the chorus was bringing up.
Change is how we all know this. Ain't no fun in the chrysalis. You come out new and scared of shit, of what you become. Caterpillars just don't fly no more than the other guy. The only way to fly is to try to start running when it comes. Change is a funny thing. Pain can make you sing. Faith can give you wings.
I want you to go back and maybe tell a short version of the story of how this song came about, that wonderful essay that I read.
We got into the studio, and we're a band that comes in super rehearsed always. For months at a time, we'll rehearse to get things exactly where we wanted to be. And the first day was finished up, and like nothing had went right for me that whole day, and I just was anxious, and I needed to do something that I could control. And so the guys left, and I had this first verse with the line, change is hard. We all know this. It ain't no fun in the Chrysalis. And I was like, oh, I love that. Where can this go? And I had that verse, but it just didn't feel like it was going to come in time for the record. So I set it aside. But that night I was like, let's pick that back up. And everybody left the studio. I was in there by myself. I turned the lights off, kind of just like played, and then stuff started to come, and it just it fell out of there. It was like maybe a half hour tops. Like I had 2 more verses and then had to figure out this chorus. And I've had that happen multiple times where things come that quickly and it feels good. And so I was excited and took out my phone, took the voice memos and recorded it. And I said to the guys, like, hey, can we like record this tomorrow? Like they had maybe heard the line, but had not heard the whole song ever because it didn't exist until that night. Yep. And they were just down. We showed up the next day, like I showed them it, and then they jammed on it. And I think we played it 3-4 times and then turned the recording on. And I think we ended up using the second take of that, which was probably like the 5th or 6th time that we had played the song together ever. It feels very magical in the sense that I like don't know where it came from, but I also know that like it came from that gathering phase. I had a lot of stuff pent up, I think, and then just having guys that were like, yeah, let's do it, felt really good.
I love that story because it touches on the magic, and it's not just that a song came to you quickly and it turned out to be great. It's that it turned out to be as you say, the question that opens up the album. Mm-hmm. You got the title of the album from that line. Right. And so I just love the magic of that story, that this came to you in a half hour, an hour, and the next day you recorded it, and the second or third take is the record, is what's recorded. It kind of just sums up to me what the beauty of songwriting can be sometimes if we open ourselves up to the things that are inside us. This thing was waiting to come out of you, and it just took the right circumstance and the right people for it to happen, right?
And it's cool that somebody was pressing record. Sometimes that happens and you have there's no evidence of it. And it's very cool that like we were able to capture it the way it did. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when it maybe happens when you're on stage and a great thing happens, that's what it is. And that's great too, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the song Ghosts. Ghosts in 4 Parts, I believe, is the full name of this song. There are songs on this record that talk about the theme of change. Change is a funny thing. This is one that brings that theme musically, right? It's like literally a 4-part spooky production. We go on this whole journey. How the heck did this song come about?
Yeah. I mean, it's a Frankenstein, to be completely honest. There were different parts of it that I wrote at different times. In the past, we've had songs where we kind of describe them as big swings in the band. We want to be able to like punch above our weight class a little bit, like take songs that like maybe we wouldn't necessarily be capable of doing, challenge ourselves, push ourselves, and then see what comes out of it. There's been plenty of those that never made it on record, but this is one of those that like, was in that spirit, and we had kind of gotten away from that in the last couple of records. So I kind of wanted to like take a bigger swing again. And I remember showing to this guys, and Bo was just like, this is never going to work. And then it did, and through, a lot of rehearsal, through a lot of like, trial and error. But yeah, that song, like it's a metaphor for, it sounds like it's about a relationship, but it's always kind of like my thoughts on like the climate crisis, this whole like, what are we doing enough? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, what's going to happen if we don't? And I've never been shy about like wanting to talk about tough issues and put them in songs. But like, I also don't want to be preachy. So I'm always trying to find a way to do it that feels artistic, find a way to do it that feels like there's care there, but also that could be powerful. And I don't know, I think that song was definitely an exercise for me in like having something in mind and then trying to make it work. Because sometimes like the skill required to take an idea from its infancy into like something like how that ended up. It's hard to do, but yeah, it was definitely one from the start that I was like, I want it to be this thing with a bunch of movements and a bunch of moving parts, and it was really fun to figure out.
If I could bet, will you still love me? Don't look the same, I left my body. Can you keep the promise? Do you know the cause? Who's gonna keep us honest? We can't get back what we lost. You can't come back with the same body. Now that it changed, will you still love me? If we were changing for the better, what do we aim for? Good enough. Yeah, we were talking about forever.
We need to talk about live performance for a minute. I know we've been at this a while, but I do want to touch on this. After getting to see you guys perform this summer, I pick up how important performing is to you as a band, how much you put into the performances. When I was reading about the band, there's a word that popped up to describe your songs, but more often your live shows. Do you have an idea what that word is? That's a common descriptor.
We get energetic.
Rollicking.
Okay. Yeah.
But I also heard this a few times from people I met at the show and people that I talked to about you, your fans. They said, "Oh, I've seen them 4 times this year. I go to every show I can. I've seen every show they've played around here." This is a devoted fan base. Is that something you guys are consciously working on? Is like developing the kind of fan base that might, like a jam band kind of thing, might go see you 3 nights in a row or go see you every time you come to town, or that kind of thing?
I don't know if it's like, oh, let's try to get people out to the show. It's I don't think it's coming from an angle of like, let's find a way to just get more people here. I think it's more of an angle of like, we have people here, how do we connect with them? From a very early on, I've thought about where in the song can the audience play a part. You know, I think one of the bands that got me into this kind of space was the Avett Brothers, and I loved when they'd run to the front of stage, start clapping their hands. Or I love when like it was like, all right, sing with us. I always had an eye towards like, okay, I loved being included when I was in the crowd. How can I do that, you know, with writing songs? And if that's like a call and response, if that's like a place to stomp and clap, it's like, you know, or like, you know, with our song Find Your Muse, we're like, we ask the audience like, hey, like rub your hands together, clap when we clap. Like it's earnestly searching for spaces to have the audience feel like they're a part of what we're doing. Has always been important to us. And I think that kind of just like grows and just like people want to be a part of it. And we're so thankful that people keep coming back. And I think because of that, then we want to like, we're going to play different songs, or we're going to play songs differently, or we're going to, we're going to hit you in the face with this fast one or slow it down with this pretty one. Like we want to be able to give people the full breadth of things. And I think, and it makes us better, like feeling that participation, feeling that energy given back to us after we give it, like kind of just feeds on itself, positive feedback loop kind of thing. And it just gets bigger and better and more fun.
Well, it works from what I could tell. I really enjoyed your show, and people, the audience that I was with most of them were not familiar with your music, and you won them over way in. It was pretty cool to see that happen.
Which is fun. You know, I mean, like, there's no getting around it. Like, coming in and knowing that nobody knows us, and then, like, you can feel it when the scales tip.
Tide turns. Yeah. I could feel it in the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then it's like, okay, now we got him. What can we do? Yeah. And it's fun. It's, I don't know if it's like a competitive streak or something, but like it feels good when that happens, and we chase it, and we love chasing it. It's awesome.
Yeah. I have one more topic I want to cover. Your mom appears on this record.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
You know, I have yet to make an appearance on any of my daughter's albums. You think you could talk to her about getting me in there somehow?
It's just persistence, you know. and maybe to the point where it's like, all right, I'm going to throw her a bone, so I don't have to hear about it any longer.
She'll leave you alone. All right, I'll be more obnoxious about it.
Yeah.
Soren, it has been really great talking to you about all this. I barely scratched the surface of my notes here, so that goes to how much I enjoy this conversation. What a great guest you were. But I also really enjoyed digging into these great songs you write. Everyone should go spend some time with Them Coulee Boys music. In particular, this most recent record, No Fun in the Chrysalis. I really do like this record.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again, Soren, for taking the time. This was great.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really, I appreciate it.
I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna tell you what.